Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the long game. I'm Brent Schafer. Along with me is Tyler Pearson. We are certified financial planners at HFG Trust, sharing conversations that we're having with our clients, also reminding people to stay invested for the long game. So, Tyler, welcome to 2026. How you doing, man?
Good. It's been a while since we've been on recording. Busy through the holidays, so I'm excited to be back.
Yeah, I'm ready to get this year started and off to a good clip. Let's just go ahead and get right into it as we do. I'm going to share a screen. We've just got a quick graphic that I think both of us have a few things, insights that we want to share, and maybe some reminders that we want to give to the folks at home. Here we go. This is it. Is it coming through for you?
Yep, I see it. Reading it.
Okay, so this is pulled from an oak tree memo by Howard Marks. He's been doing those for close to 30 years. But this was just about assessing risk tolerance. And so in that memo, he gave kind of a story behind it. There was a consulting company, and they were tasked with giving a presentation to board of trustees that oversaw a state pension fund. And one of the individuals used this graphic to assess risk. In that memo, he went to complete the story, but it speaks lengths and volumes to what we walk through with our clients and for everybody's personal situation. Just kind of does a good job on reframing or showing how you can approach your investments. Off the bat, just to describe it, on the bottom, the x-axis, we've got the ability to take risk, right? And this would just be, again, ability to take risk, or can you afford to lose money is how I think about it. And then on the y-axis, we've got willingness. And willingness would be your appetite, your stomach. Can you hold on for the ride of any specific portfolio that you come up with? And now it's broken further down into 4 quadrants. On the bottom, we've got protective, and protective would be you've got low ability to take risk, low willingness to take risks. So you're protecting what you have. Next to that is defensive. So if you have a high ability to take risk, but a low willingness, you're considered defensive. Going up, we've got naive, and that is low ability to take risk, high willingness to do so. Generally, that's where you see quite a few problems. And then in the upper right quadrant, we have high ability to take risk, high willingness to take risk, and so referred to here as capitalizing on the opportunities that are ahead of you. There it is. It's on a tee for you. It's a softball, Tyler. What are your thoughts? What would you like to add?
Well, yeah, I think if we just quickly go through and break down what kind of individuals typically fall into the different quadrants, and just maybe some high level thoughts on if you see yourself in one of those quadrants, what are some of your options? And I think we can go quickly through that. So I would start up with the folks in the naive quadrant, the high willingness to take risk, right? They're comfortable taking risk, but maybe their financial situation doesn't quite back that. So they don't have the ability to take on that risk. They don't have the capacity for the risk. These are people who maybe have not a lot of savings, but want to still grow what little they have at a rapid rate. So they're emotionally willing to put it into high risk investment assets. It's people, though, unfortunately, who typically a bad year might derail their plan, not just for the year, but derail it for the rest of their life, or put them in a situation where they're substantially behind. And so understanding, what your balance sheet can afford to take, right? That's that riskability is really important for anyone, because the goal to some extent is to match your willingness to take risk with your ability to take risk. I don't know if you have anything you want to add there, or if we want to jump into maybe one of the other quadrants.
I think that's a good way to put it. This graphic, just at a high level, gosh, there's so many different scenarios that we could paint into. Are we in the accumulation phase? Are we in the distribution phase? Are we overfunded? Are we underfunded? So I don't want to go to that extent. Let's just continue to walk through each of these quadrants here, and then we'll tie a bow on it at the end. So go ahead, take your
Sounds
pick.
good. All right, let's jump straight across to capitalizing. So that's going to be individuals with, again, the high emotional ability to or willingness to take risk, but these people actually have the capacity to take risk. And these people are oftentimes high earners, people who have safe assets built up, an emergency fund, funds that if they're in the, like you said, not to get too far into it, but if they're still in their accumulation phase, that they have years in front of them where if there's a bad market year and the portfolio goes down, it's not going to derail their plan. In fact, it's to some extent to be expected on their journey to retirement. These are people who have that matched up where, hey, they're willing to take on risk, they're willing to stomach the volatility because they know in the long run their plan can handle it and they're going to get better investment returns over the course of, say, 20, 30 years. So, do you have anything you want to add there?
I think that's the quadrant that everyone should aspire to be in, right? They don't have to be the high earner. They just have to have an adequately or an overfunded retirement, right? And by allocating resources, by continuously saving and growing the contribution rate, you can get into that. But I think everybody should strive to be in that capitalizing portion of risk tolerance.
No, absolutely. On the protective side of things, so jumping down over to the left, we've got people that aren't willing to take on a lot of risk, right? Maybe they are nervous Nellies, and they also don't have the ability to take on a whole lot of risk. Brent, is there anything that jumps out at you from the protective folks?
I think that if you get to that point and you're taking substantial distributions from your portfolio, substantial being a relative measure, right? But it is all about those trade-offs. And if you have to be protective of your wealth, you're not going to be mostly invested in the stock market. Equities just are generally more risky than fixed income. And even in fixed income, you can come shorter term, shorter duration to even get yourself like the overnight rate of like what T-bills would be. If you fall into that protective quadrant, I would see people needing to reach out to an advisor and kind of go through things and make sure that, are we going to exhaust the funds? Is it going to be close? Just to make sure as you get down that rabbit hole, what does your stock versus bond allocation need to be? So that's what jumps out to me for the protective.
No, I think you covered it. It's so to jump over to defensive, this is the last quadrant. And in my experience, and Brent, maybe yours is similar, maybe it's different, but in my experience, I seem to work with a lot of retired individuals who are defensive. The plan supports the ability to have some significant kind of exposure to equities, be it 60, 70, 80%. They're not taking a lot of distributions out of the portfolio. Maybe they have fixed income, pensions, things like that, Social Security, but man, the emotions get the better of them. They really just don't want to see that portfolio drop. We always joke, when things are going down, it's not a percentage game. If they have $1 million, they really don't want to see it be 900,000 the next year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand that, but maybe shine some light on when it's important to maybe have a little bit more willingness, or is it okay to just be defensive, especially in your retirement years?
Yeah, and it all goes to the goals of the specific clients that we're working with. If you get to that point where you start to become defensive, then it's also probably a legacy goal or a family. I could also see it being when we went from interest rates being zero to the Fed close to 4 or 5%. Folks are okay getting their 4 or 5% on their money. A lot of funds were going into those money market instruments, and it's like, hey, I can get that overnight rate, and it's a good rate. I'm gonna kind of keep up with inflation. And so people get comfort in that. And again, just the guarantee or just the knowing of what it's going to be, the predictability of it. I think people also gravitate towards that, especially later in life. We've got less time. We've got what we seem or what people can assign themselves is a lower ability to take risk, even though we could probably give them the numbers. But again, it is an emotional game. If somebody wants to be defensive, we walk through the options and talk about the potential outcomes of what you do or where the portfolio is going to go with our two paths that we choose. But I am fine with it. And then I think just a transition into our next topic, Tyler, just given that where we're coming from off of a good 2025 period of returns, All markets were positive, and I say all in terms of asset class, right? Your international, emerging, and the US markets were positive. But people are starting to get a little wary on valuations and where the market is at. And usually at that point in time, granted, we just 25 to 26, we just crossed over the calendar year. It's always a good time to take a look and rebalance and see where everything is at. Do we want to stay the course with our current allocation? Do we maybe want to rebalance and trim some of the growth or the earnings and put that back to our original objective? So I thought that was a good kind of segue to maybe just blend this chart in with the market and the climate today. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you raise a good point. The start of the year for a lot of people, New Year's resolutions, making goals, things like that, checking in on where your portfolio is at, understanding what the market looks like today. I would just encourage people that are listening to try to think about where maybe you fall on this chart, and is that where you should be, right? And if you couple that with rebalancing and making sure your portfolio is aligned with your goals in life, I think it's pretty hard to go wrong. So that'd be my encouragement for people at home.
Perfect. Well said. All right, man. Well, first one of 2026 under the belt here, and I feel pretty good about that. Like you said, whenever we cross over the calendar or after there's been, some significant amount of time, it's always good to assess your current situation, assess where your portfolio is at, and then if you need to reach out and chat with somebody. I know we speak with clients. We reach out every 4 to 6 months or so because I pick up the phone and call everybody every single day. It's like, well, hey, nothing much has changed since yesterday. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you checking in. But at 4 months, 6 months, a year, those are generally long enough time periods in someone's life where, yeah, we do need to take a look at this. And even if it is, hey, things look good, we're still on track, we're on our path. So anyway, just to wrap it up there, thank you, Tyler. Everybody at home, please reach out to us if you got any questions about your portfolio or want to talk further about financial planning. We'll catch you next time.